Hey folks, welcome to Set Up Our Homestead. This is Travis, and man, it's a amazingly beautiful day out here. It's a little windy, which is fine. So I got my little mic on. Hopefully you'll hear me okay with the wind. It tends to help a little bit better. So I had a really good morning this morning. I met with some viewers here on YouTube that I've met and been in contact with. And I'm not going to tell you who they are or details, but they're looking to move down here into the Ozarks and wanted to know if we could meet up. So I did this morning for breakfast and talked for quite a while and really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to meet them again and also meet their kids. They told me about them. So it was exciting, and I always love meeting, like-minded folks that, we can kind of share ideas and experiences, and it's always really encouraging. One of the things that we talked about, because they're, talking about moving here. Oh, and I wanted to say, for those of you local Ozarkians, now, don't worry. Yeah, they're Yankees. But, they're from Minnesota. Minnesota. I got to pick on them. And, up there where they're not like city folk kind of Yankees, they hunt and fish and do outdoorsy stuff up there. Minnesota's known for that. Minnesota's kind of like the northern hillbillies. They haven't quite mastered the hillbilliness that we have down here in the Ozarks, but they got it pretty good up there. They're pretty good hillbillies up there. So anyways, it's not like they're from New York City, so don't give them too hard of a time, folks. Not that there's anything wrong with you people from New York. I remember the old paste pecani sauce commercial. New York City, get a rope. Anyways, so last few days, or really last week or so, basically the two big topics I've been talking about is moving to the Ozarks, life in the Ozarks, and then preparing yourself for big SHTF. Well, for those of us that live out here in the sticks, there's another kind of preparedness, another kind of prepping that you really need to do. And so those of you that want to live out like this, whether it's here in the Ozarks or anywhere else, there's another kind of preparedness that you got to get into, and it's homestead prepping. It's kind of the same, and it kind of fits there, but in a way it's almost its own separate category. And that's why when you come out here in the sticks and the hills and you talk to the average person about prepping, a lot of them will say, no, they're not really a prepper, because so many people nowadays associate prepping with like the Doomsday Prepper TV show. And they're like, man, I don't do that kind of stuff. That's not me. But they are preppers, meaning that they're prepared in their lives for their daily life, and maybe even for more than just daily life. So what do I mean about homestead preparedness or homestead prepping? Well, let me put it to you this way. For those of you that live in the city or near the city, or you're not too far of a drive from a store or whatever, where you would go, if you run out of something and you need something, you just drop what you're doing. You go jump in the car and you run down and you grab it, right? All right. Well, out here, it's a little different. I mean, sure, you can do it, but just to give you an idea, I'm not going to tell you in details about where I live, because I don't know who all's out there listening. But if I want to go to the grocery store, I got to drive about 40 minutes one way, and it's through hills and hollers and valleys and creeks and all that kind of stuff. And then it's another 40 minutes back. Well, that's almost an hour and a half, drive right there just to go get a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk. Now, there are sparsely spread out, little convenient general stores, old-fashioned kind out here in the country. But they're really expensive, because they know that, you either get it from them or you got to go, 45-minute drive to the nearest town. Well, what if you're looking for something that's more specialty? You may have to drive 2 hours to a big city to get what you need. So that's one of the disadvantages to living out here in the hills and hollers and sticks is that, you know, the stores aren't that close. So you got to prepare. So, you know, let's say you're doing a little project around your house and you're like, man, I didn't buy enough nails, or I need some screws or something like that. Do you really want to pay the gas and drive 40 miles there, 40 miles back, spend about 2 hours of your day just driving just so that you can buy a $5 box of nails? You know, if you need super glue, if you need a dozen eggs, you know, a stick of butter, whatever it is. So when you move out like this, you need to kind of adjust your thinking that there's just those basic things. And you're going to make mistakes. We did it. I couldn't tell you how many times that when we first moved out like this, that we would, you know, go to the store, do like a big shopping day, and we'd get home and we're like, oh my goodness, we forgot that one item, and we really needed that one item. And so we'd have to either that day or the next day make another trip into town to go get that one little, you know, few dollar item. And it's really inconvenient. And with the prices of gas, it makes that one item pretty expensive item, you know. You figure if you go get a gallon of milk, you know, when you figure your gas in, you probably paid $12 to $15 for 1 gallon of milk. So you got to be prepared. It takes a while to kind of get the hang of it. You know, you're not going to move out here and do it all at once, probably. But you got to start thinking about just what's those things in your daily life that you use, whether it's in your kitchen, you know, soap, toilet paper, laundry detergent, and kind of create a system so that you're not going and buying, replenishing those supplies when they're empty or near empty. Where you're replenishing those supplies when they're maybe about halfway. That way it gives you a little buffer. And then always have extras, you know, extra batteries, you know, extra nuts and bolts and screws and nails and duct tape and, you know, the things that in the kitchen, you know, extra spices, you know, that kind of stuff. Of course, there's perishable things that you can't just keep a large stock of, but, you know, some of those things you can. You can freeze butter in your freezer if you have that, that kind of stuff. But it's a level of homestead preparedness. Your animals, keeping, you know, that you have a decent supply of stuff so that you're not constantly running out and then spending all this extra money going to the store because, and I know what some of you are thinking, well, you know, we're on a limited budget here and I can't go and buy 3 months of chicken feed. Well, but if you buy it every 2 weeks, think of how much more you're spending in gas. By going to the store. So we try to only go to town, and we're not always successful in this, but our goal is that we only go to town, like to the stores and stuff, once a month. And we plan a big day of shopping, and it stinks because I hate shopping. My wife hates shopping too. She's not a shopper either. We both hate it, so it works good. You know, we work on the shopping list for 2 or 3 days. You know, she handles the food stuff and I handle the other stuff, and we kind of have it written down and we know what we're going to do, and we go in and we get it and we get out. You know, we don't do none of that lollygagging around because we both just don't like shopping. We don't like going into town. And we actually save money doing that. Yeah, we may, you know, that one day we may spend a lot of money, but then we don't spend any more money like that for the rest of the month. And we're not running to town every 3 or 4 or 5 days, you know, buying stuff. Now, if your job, maybe you're going to town every day for your job, I get it. That's different. But a lot of times you don't do that. And maybe your job is not that direction. Maybe your job is at home. Maybe your job is another place out in the country. So homestead preparedness, you should do this in your home too. You know, if you did this in your home, even if the store was down the road, you can save money. You typically can buy things a little bit cheaper if you buy them in bulk. You know, buying those real big, you know, bundles of toilet paper, the per roll price is usually less than, you know, the little 4-pack of toilet paper. Same thing, you know, if you buy rice, you buy a 2-pound bag of rice or you buy a 50-pound bag of rice. Well, sure, you're paying more overall, but your per pound price is significantly cheaper. And, I know those of you on a budget, you can't, especially a tight budget, you can't just immediately go out and do it. So you kind of have to build up to it. Put money aside, and that this is the money for the extras. This is where we're, and then that's basically how you do prepping anyways. People ask me, all the time, well, how do I get started in prepping? Well, unless you just got money, no one's going to just go out and say, well, I just bought a year's worth of food and I'm going to put it in my, closet. You don't do that. You go out there and say, well, normally we shop for about 2 weeks, 2 weeks worth of food. Well, this time we're going to shop for maybe 3 weeks worth of food, and then build up to a month, and then build up to 2 months, and get it to where you're starting to have a store of your own personal store of food. You kind of have to do that around the homestead with things. There's a lot of little things, and there's still times that I make a mistake, and it's like, I should have thought of that. Thankfully, I'm pretty good at hillbilly rigging stuff. I'm telling you. My wife laughs at me, but she actually gets kind of impressed with things that, if I'm trying to fix something, I realize I need something. I'm like, man, I'm not going to drive 45 minutes for, a $3 little bolt. I bet I can figure something out around here. One of the things that I did was, I'm going to tell a story on myself. You can all laugh at me. It's because of NWA Prepper, because he's always talking about zip ties for the homestead. And I found a sale on them one day, and I bought a whole bunch of them. And then I was working on my riding mower and had to take the gas tank off and ended up losing one of the bolts on it that holds the gas tank down, Could not find that thing. So I zip tied it. It's worked fine. No problems with it. Sometimes you kind of have to do that. That's kind of the hillbilly way of doing it, because it gets too expensive running all over the country trying to find a part, or trying to get, a roll of duct tape or this or that, or a tarp or whatever you need. So homestead preparedness, it's a different kind of preparedness. You have your everyday things that you're prepared for. You have your big disasters that you're prepared for, your big catastrophic, huge ones. But then there's also just your homestead preparedness of, having extra gasoline. We keep several 5-gallon totes of gasoline, and we rotate them through. I know gasoline doesn't last very long, so we rotate them out. Keep diesel and kerosene, those types of things, propane, because those are things that we use from time to time around here, and some of them more than others. And, it's, if I refill a 20-pound bottle of propane, may be able to get it pretty cheap, but if I got to drive 45 minutes just to go get it filled, it's no longer cheap, right? So you do it all together. And so that's something for those of you that are moving out like this, wherever you're moving. Start kind of evaluating your life, all the little things. You maybe keep like a journal of the stuff that you use throughout the month. And do you keep that kind of stuff on hand, at least some of it? Well, if you don't, you probably should start doing that. That way you're not spending all your extra time and money running around to the store getting things, because when you move out like that, that's one of the big disadvantages, is the lack of convenience of going places. Now, the other option is of course buying stuff online. We do shop online. I'm not a big fan of the internet because of all the bad things that happen. But if it's there and we can use it for some good, I guess we should do that. We do some shopping online. Some things you can find cheaper online. Other things not always cheaper, but when you figure that we're not having to spend the gas money to go get it, then it does become cheaper. But if you need something right now, you can't get it right now if you order it online. So you have to kind of reevaluate your life. You don't want to be spending all this money driving all over the place, because even the other thing is out here in the country, a lot of these little small towns, they don't have as much variety at stores, because a lot of the stores are smaller and there's less competition. So you might have to pay a little bit more. So, you kind of have to work that out. Maybe going, to a little bit larger town where prices might be a little bit less, but don't go there as often. Buy more at a time, instead of buying a week or two worth of groceries, going to the further town to get the cheaper prices. Well, you're not saving any money if you're going more often. So you know, spread it out to where you're only going every month or every 2 months to those type of places. These are kind of the things you got to think about when you're moving out like this. It's not just the Ozarks. There's a lot of places like that where you're out in the sticks, and you know, the nearest town is, you know, quite a ways off. So that's about homestead preparedness. I know it's not the cool, you know, end time talk of like the other day about EMPs and, you know, grid down and all that exciting stuff that we just love to, it's like red meat to us. I know, I'm the same way. My wife hears it all the time, you know, but this is the kind of stuff that keeps us prepared, and it also can save you some money. So if your plans are moving out here in hillbilly country, wherever that may be, start working on lists and ideas on your homestead preparedness. Because, man, it stinks. You know, you're right in the middle of a project and you got to stop what you're doing. You know, you're working on that, working on vehicles. That's the thing. You work on a vehicle and you got to stop. You got to drive all the way to town because you forgot one thing, or the part doesn't work or fit or something like that. It's frustrating, trust me. So anyways, I hope that kind of helps some of you out that's either made the move or going to make the move to living out here with us hillbillies, or other places where there's hillbillies. They're all over. We just kind of are the experts on it here in the Ozarks. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.